There's only two reasons somebody doesn't buy or click or whatever the marketing question is. It's either the wrong audience or you have the wrong message for the right audience.
Or it's a bot.
Or it's a bot. And if it doesn't fit the ideal customer profile, it's a bot. To me, it's a bot. Like, what's the theoretical possibility? Yeah, 1 out of a billion times you're going to be able to get a bot.
And think about it this way, too. If the ads are sitting on a page and it's going to the wrong people, too. Now, how many times have you accidentally clicked on an ad? And you're like, ah, shit, opens up in another tab, and then you exit out of it immediately. There you go. You know how many accidental ad clicks happen all the time? I'm so guilty of that, and that's why I've opted out of like pretty much every single data service. I'm not going to tell people where because that kills the fun. Opted out, I think, 286 data aggregators, so I'm like a ghost. I don't even get the recommendations on Amazon for products. So it's like that type of thing.
But you're like my partner, Eric. When we started the ad platform, he blocked ads. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I can't stand him. I go, that's kind of tough, man. That's what we do for a living.
Yeah, and like lead gen platforms.
Yeah.
I'm only visible. My content is only visible on the lead gen platforms that I'm partnered with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So if you think about just the basic fundamentals of rows and columns, the way I see columns is it's a deeper profile. The more I know about somebody, right? And again, you could talk to this at a whole nother level. I'm a layman, but it's common sense to me. So I was using just the behavior portion of this and getting conversions and lowering cost per clicks by 60, 70%. Once we started laying on the ICP.
And then if you look at it from a geometrical perspective, from my point of view,
changed everything.
Is that the columns are a different side and length to a shape. Let's say that shape is going to be a multi-dimensional. If there's 10 columns, then it's a decahedral shape, right? So the reason it's in 3 dimensions is because you're talking a different length of each side. That's going to cover 2 dimensions for the columns. Now the third dimension, if we want to make this into we actually do like 12 to 36 dimensional matrices, but that's totally way out of everybody's league. But if you think about it as like an actual shape, like a decahedron. That's like the cube from Dungeons and Dragons, right?
But I also want you, maybe we don't do this tonight, but I want everybody to understand this, that I am from a generation that didn't know the word internet. And you're talking about giving me a technological advantage that is, quite frankly, a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
If you define competitive advantage as either you lowering my cost or helping me attain a premium, right? Mm-hmm. And you can do both, forget it. So I can lower my cost easy, but talk about premium. I know before anybody else when a prospect is brand new to the market, their existing demand, right? Somebody who's in market, right? Someone who's actively pursuing what it is I sell. When you use a graph, for us, it's a dual matrix of just keep it simple, the profile and the behavior. If I know the profile of who my buyers are and the behavior matches a previous buyer, you're talking about what do I have to do to get that person to communicate with me, whether it's digitally or on the phone.
Right, exactly.
That's it. Like, this girl likes me. How do I get a date? I don't have to get her to marry me. Right? I don't have to ask her to the prom or ask her to my cousin's wedding. I just got to get a cup of coffee with her.
Because that's the start to the whole thing. And coming back to the
women out there, I apologize. I'm not trying to be sexist, but at the end of the day, I always use the dating example because it's about a relationship.
Well, selling, I use that all the time too. Selling is like dating. That's all it is.
It's a relationship. How do you start a relationship with a girl that you find attractive?
You don't just walk up to them and say, let's go on a date. And they just wait there and say nothing else. That's what those ads are and what those sales are, where they're just like, buy this product. It's like, what the no, get away from me,
So what you do is you start a conversation. So if there are 208 million people in the United States, 18 and above, who do you start the conversation with and how do you start that conversation so it resonates?
Yeah, and what if, using the dating analogy that you're putting here, how many times have you struck out? It doesn't matter if you're going after women, men, or whatever the hell else. It doesn't matter. Whatever your flavor is, whatever floats your boat or sinks it, well, your choice. But let's say you're going out there, you strike out all the time. All the time. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how attractive you are. You're going to strike out all the time. Now, what if you knew the people where the second you walk up to them and start a conversation, it feels like, wow, you really just hit it off. They could be your best friend, whatever it may be. What if you were able to identify precisely which people are going to be like that?
That's it. That's it. Stop right there. Don't make it any more complicated by removing everybody else. So let's talk about it from a business sense now. If you remove who not to, your click-throughs are going to be higher. Your cost is going to be lower. Your CAC is going to be lower. Your salespeople are going to be more efficient because they're getting more traction per phone call, per effort, per minute. What was the stat?
No. But it also creates fear because it's like, wait, my salespeople aren't making 250 calls a week anymore. What the hell are they doing? They don't have a job anymore. What's the point? Doing the research, building the relationship, nurturing. That's what they should be doing.
Two things. Think about it like this. You could either lower your staff, right? You could remove people, or if I have enough leads, imagine if I can make your current staff, all of them, 5 times more effective.
Yeah, and you know how many companies, when that happens, their TAM, their total addressable market, it burns them. Once they start doing things right, it burns them. They realize how few people are willing to do business with them.
So, you know what? There's a question, and this is another, I love basics. So here's a question I ask everybody. When does marketing start?
Marketing starts the second there's any interaction.
I disagree. Marketing starts before the product's even created. If you're building a product looking for a market, you're
in that context, yeah.
Right. It's not about it's about solving a problem. You don't build a solution, go looking for the problem. You find a problem and you build a solution. And what profiling does is tells me who has the probability of having my problem that I built a solution for. And by the way, if you want a substitute solution, it's an experience that they want but do not have, or a result that they want but do not have, or a change they want but do not have, right? That's it.
My CRO, Marcus, he says this: people do not buy products or services. They rent outcomes. And when they're done renting it and they don't need that outcome anymore, if they find something better, then they give up their lease and they rent a different outcome.
Tony Robbins says that most of the things you want are because of how it makes you feel.
Right? Damn straight. And that's why people think that way. They're logical thinkers, they're emotional thinkers, but there's no such thing as a straight logic thinker. It doesn't exist. It's all driven by emotion. The way that it works is that your limbic system decides for you subconsciously right up front because you feel emotionally inclined about it. And then your neocortex kicks in, your logical thinking in your brain to justify the emotional choice.
So think about what you just said. If I can profile the person that has the probability and then the behavior matches someone else who bought, right? Of all the behaviors. So we're locked in on who and when and how. I know
also
when to target them and how to close them. Like that's what technology, that's what a graph does.
Who, what, when, how, and where.
Well, think about it. If you own and control, that's our phrase. If you can own and control your targeting, then you can operate inside successfully the walled garden and outside. Google
that's right.
Will control 75% of all advertising worldwide. Anybody who says you can't, you can make money outside of Google and Facebook, you're walking away from way too much money. But here's the thing about Google and Facebook. I just want to say this out loud for everybody. Think of Google and Facebook as an algorithm, okay?
That's all it is.
They're a relevance engine, okay? Meaning they want the experience of the person who sees the ad to be good. So if I put all my analytics in a conversion funnel, right, in my acquisition.
And just a footnote too, LinkedIn is also just a relevance engine.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's it. So for me, what a relevance engine means is that the prospect, the person who sees the ad, is more important to them than the advertiser, me, and everybody knows this. So if I get 2 clicks to your 1 out of 100 impressions, I'm more relevant, 2 to 1. So they're going to give me a 60-cent click cost and you $1. You're going to make $1 for them for 100 impressions. I'm going to make $1.20 while getting a 40% discount. Now, if I get all of my analytics in place and they see them having a good experience in my funnel, acquisition, post-acquisition, Guess what? Google knows now that they can give me more volume. And if my numbers stay level, meaning, the flexibility between the volume changing the experience for the user, as long as I stay in the high and low, because nothing stays permanent when you add more volume. So long as I stay within that line and I give them a good experience, I'm going to have the potential to give Google and Facebook what they want. A buyer who gives a good experience that can handle volume. Now, here's where they make money. You ready? I now make money on the lifetime because, listen, if I know how to close you on a single product, I know how to sell you on every other product that you're already shopping for. We sell so many things on the back end that have nothing to do with the front. Zero. We're an Amazon play on the back end. You bought socks, I'm selling you a car. You bought a car, I'm selling you a book. It doesn't matter because I'm leveraging the relationship. That's what a graph allows me to do.
And then also how things correlate loosely that people don't see with these direct correlations, but it's such an indirect way. I use the example of if they halted the plastic production in Canada, the rice trade in China would tank. What would that have to do with anything? Well, it's directly tied to it.
Think about it. There's trailing metrics and there's leading metrics. What people don't understand is that if I'm trying to grow sales, right? Profitable sales, what would be the trailing metric? Am I targeting people that have a propensity to buy? Do they have the profit capability? Do they have the need? Do they have the, you know what I'm saying? So when you get down to it, profiling does that. And then when I overlay the behavior on top of that, then I know who to target now. And because I know where they are in the buyer's journey, I know what my messaging is going to be. And if I'm split testing and I'm building a unique, so one thing I don't think people realize, you said this to me, one of the first conversations we ever had, that it was like 2,500 different segments. Like, do you understand that if you did 50 million in sales, that you have 2,500 different segments?
Yeah.
Okay. Now imagine knowing the names, the contact records for everybody in each segment, having the ability to build a unique funnel for each segment. Okay. Guys like Rob can take 2,500 segments and turn them into 300,000 segments. And if there are 500,000 people, turn them into 500,000 segments, segment of one. And we all possess the technology to build an individual unique funnel, put all the tracking on it, connect it into Google. To me, if you're not trying to get in rhythm with Google's algorithm, no trickery. Like I said before, the best experience you could ever sell somebody is a great experience. Why? Because all the things Google looks for, how long they stayed on the page, did they engage, right? Did they watch the video? How many keywords did they search? How much did they consume? How far did they scroll down? All that behavior. I'm feeding in our analytic, by the way, we light up everything. So I show you every single path inside the funnel, and I show you every single path that they take outside of your funnel.
And if you think about it this way too, with Facebook, with LinkedIn, with anything else, it doesn't really matter. It's any of these social medias. Social medias are free. How do they make money? Okay, ads, sure. But if you ask them, what products do they have? Their advertising is not a product. None of it's a product. And Mark Zuckerberg will tell you the same thing, is that he says, well, we don't have products or services because we don't need them. Our product or service, it's not Facebook or anything like that. It's free. It's all free. What is the product that Facebook has? What is it?
The
product is
monetizing
you.
behavior.
You, the user, are their product.
Exactly.
That's what people don't get. Facebook is not their product. You, the person using it, are their product.
They're using an identity graph. They know who to target with what product and when. That's it, right?
Although Facebook targeting has been dead inaccurate on me. Like I'm a mess. None of it makes sense because I know how it all works. That's the problem. So I don't follow the pathways that people do. Neither do you. Neither do you.
Start liking things just to throw everybody off. If I'm shopping for something, I'll say I don't want this ad just to see what happens.
Even if it is relevant, you say I don't want it.
Listen, anybody who doesn't understand, Google controls the largest operating systems in the world, right? Apple is the largest operating system for cell phones here in the United States. Google's the largest in the world. Google and Facebook control 60 to 70%. Google controls 60% of the browser market. They control 94% of the search, and they, with Google, control 75% of ads. Think about that. They're the largest like operating system for cell phones. They control 60% of all browsers, 94% of keyword search, right? It's crazy. So
yeah, and think about it. Google owns the Android OS, but then they came out with the Google phone, so it's a Google OS. They're both Google. It doesn't matter.
and so the keyword searches are getting longer. You know, they're growing by unique searches are growing by 15% a month. You know, there's a profile there for anybody who wants to look at those keywords. There's tremendous opportunity in that. There's so many inefficiencies, if you will, that when you use data, everyone is always looking to increase conversion by changing something. And what I say to people is, don't change your targeting, remove some of your targeting.
And that's what people don't get either, is that the target is the root to everything. It's not the message. The message is determined by the target. If the target's wrong, the message is wrong.
Yeah,
You're projecting a message around people who won't buy, or it's not the right target. After that, you add more volume. We need to contact more people. No, you're just adding to the pile, digging the grave, digging the grave, digging the grave. You just get deeper and deeper, and then you're in the hole.
100%. So if you think about it, if my great aunt had a great apple pie recipe and I wanted to write her a letter asking for the recipe, who I'm targeting, I know why I'm targeting. Is it really hard to figure out the words? Right?
No.
If I know that you're searching for what I sell, how hard is it when I know what the thought sequence is of every previous buyer? Dr. Flint calls it the sequence of conclusions. What conclusions do they have to come to buy what you sell? Everybody knows what they are, right? So the conversations are helping get them educated, point out every issue, every relevant thing that they need to be aware of to make a good, smart buying decision.
Yeah, and I mean, that's part of one of the downfalls of my own business, to show some vulnerability, is that we don't have a marketing team. So being able to connect with people, start that conversation, and resonate with people who are not like us, which I've still to this day have not met someone like me. I think there's one, and we're just insane. But that's the thing, is that people don't think like this. I think in literally boosted tree patterns, like 16 steps to 26 steps ahead. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make it. People don't think in logic like that. They think emotionally. So it's hard for us to connect with people because we are very odd in that sense. And so that's a weakness, because it was first, the website was written. So unless you were like a PhD data scientist, you had no idea what the fuck we were doing. And then we moved it. So, we got to dumb it down. We went too stupid. No descriptions, just saying, you're going to get these outcomes. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Like, it went to that. And now we're starting to morph into in between the two. But those are the mistakes, is that how do you resonate with people that aren't like you?
For me, if I know who I'm talking to, all I have to do is test. That's it. Again, Dr. Flint, McLaughlin, McLabs, one of his famous quotes is, "There's no such thing as expert marketers.
Damn straight.
There's only expert testers." Right? There's experienced marketers who know at a high level where to start the test. And I think that when you think about, for me, if I know who my segment is, what's going to attract them? I'm going to test 3 or 4 really good ideas. I'm smart enough to come up with 3 or 4 good ideas. And next month, I'll come up with 3 or 4 new ones. And I'm just going to rifle through 100 ideas to find the one that converts. So this is the part that I want everybody to understand. When I say, like, I'm the canary in the coal mine, I can build with segmenting all the individual funnels for those segments. I can have AI write all of the copy, all of the content, and all of the creative. We build all of that through automation. And where we can't use automation, we have VAs. We're going segment of one. I'm going to say within 12 months, we're going to do full omni segment of one at speeds people aren't going to be able to keep up with.
Oh yeah, we're going to help you with that.
I'm going to tell you 2 things. I'll make 2 predictions. We'll come back. When people understand that the future of your business is not the product, but the relationship that you're making with that person, your whole business will change the way.
I just don't understand how people haven't gotten that through their head yet. It's always been about the relationship since the beginning of time. Human beings having actual conversations using an actual language. That has been the way that it works.
Again, the best experience to have is a good experience. People always ask, like, How do you stop churn? Well, what I do is I profile who are the people that have the highest probability of churning, and I focus on them in a relationship way. Because when I know who it is I need to talk to, use the example of my great aunt with the apple pie. Hey, listen, I wanted to reach out to you, Rob, because I was concerned that maybe you weren't going to find this product as appealing as some of our other customers because of your blank. Because I know who you are, I might say, because of the vertical that you're in, you might struggle to find the right use case application for what we do. Think about when people buy products. I know when I make sales to people and they fail, it's mainly because we failed in helping them execute. Yep. We have the right company. We know that they were the right person. They fit the freaking profile. But what we didn't understand was how to reach them. So one of the things that we changed in our business model is we've gone to a done with you and a done for you. We don't do self-serve anymore at the higher level. So if people want to go to our company and just utilize the tech, they can do the self-serve at the lower level. But if they want to get involved with us in application, see, that's the cool thing. So
we did the same thing because people just won't get. The only people who we've had clients leave simply because we ran through, they still just made the assumption of we know who we sell to, even though they have the predictive model and the ICP built. They run their leads through 10,000 leads, and then they're left with a set of 115 people that are decent to target based off of the predictions. And they go, what am I supposed to do with this? Then they call everybody, and then nothing happens because they're still doing the same mass volume automated outreach crap. And then, oh, I got the same results. No shit.
So let me give you an example of what we did. When I know who, right, I have the ability to resolve identity on social media. So I'm looking at all your social media posts. I'm looking at all your shares, all your likes, right?
Likes and shares are so important, my God.
I have a shared
story of everything.
So Rob, I put your name into my shared experience graph. I have my name, and the system looks up everything we have in common, right? People we have in common that I could reach out to, maybe get an intro. The idea is I want to take my time and I want to find out. Think about when we were in freaking 6th grade, man. We'd ask our best friend to ask the girl you like's best friend, does she like me? Right? Because we wanted to shoot a fish in a barrel. We're using data to do the same thing. Once I know the fish are in the barrel, look, if I can get the fish in the barrel and you can't close them, well, then you suck. There's nothing.
Well, I think it's more so of you're surrounded by 10,000 barrels. One of them has the fish in it. Which barrel has the fish? Instead of just lifting open all of the lids and trying to find out where the hell the fish are, when then we finally find it, great, you make it a sale, right?
What we do is we build the barrel.
We tell you which barrel the fish are in.
Exactly.
That's simple.
By the way, not only do we do that, the way I look at us is we build the barrel, put your marketplace in, and oh, by the way, let's take out the ones that are most hungry and put them in this special barrel over here. You know what I mean? And by the way, each one of these people like this type of bait at this time of day. You know, so what channel, what you say, all of that. So when you think about a graph and all those columns, I do things like campaign response. I'm recording 4 billion longitude and latitude time and date stamps on people's maids every day. We're converting all that longitude and latitude to specific companies, where you go, what you do. Other people who go to those same places at the same time. We're doing the same thing online. We're resolving identity. Again, I'm only resolving on social media like a third on Facebook, but I'm doing 100% on LinkedIn, almost 100, in the high 90s, right? So I'm not looking at everything in Facebook, for example, but I'm able to look at groups, see who you're in groups with, what you're sharing, what you're like, all of that semantic meaning, we're now bringing in and starting to utilize that to correct our messaging. You know, to talk to you on a more individual basis. We're working with a company who's interpreting all of your posts online to see the type of messaging that'll resonate with you, regardless of what we're selling.
Because you wanted, you know, the age-old process of reflect when you sell, reflect that person's behavior, reflect the way that person speaks, right? It's the same exact thing. You're reflecting the way that they speak online, so it feels familiar, and they're like, you know what, this guy gets me.
Right.
This company gets me because, you know, they talk like I do.
Think about it like no one buys a solution the word I use is clarity, right? If I can give somebody the words that describes their pain when they couldn't articulate it, when I can talk about a solution that you may like, the old famous Henry Ford quote of, if I ask people what they want, they'd say faster horses, right? But
Yeah.
I can certainly identify your problem. And if I said, listen, instead of faster horses, what if I could give you this? If I can identify your problem and I could talk about it in an educated way, and I could describe all the methodologies to solve it, not just one pill, shot, cream, right? Which of the three, tell you the pros and cons for each, tell you how I stack up against those three, I'm going to win that sale 80% of the time, 75% of the time. I have frame control. I'm setting the buying criteria. I know who to talk to. I'm going to talk before you talk to any of my competitors, right? If you've ever studied.
That's the key too, is getting in early where it's the passive buying cycle. Because when they're passive, you can get to them, and if you nurture them while they're there, by the time they hit active, they're calling you because you've already built a relationship and they trust you. Rather than going into the shark infested water with all the blood, guts, and fins all over the place, where everybody's attacking at the same exact time. Oh, this person's ready to buy. Let's just murder them. And no, you get them before they get to that point. Right before they dive into that shark infested water, you just snatch them up.
You said before, when people are in that buyer's journey, it's complex, it's long, right? So think about when someone's in that buyer's journey. What are they doing? You're peeking into their mind during a buying decision. Imagine entering a buying decision going on in their head, and you're talking relevant to that particular topic. Just the fact that you tied into that thinking while it's going on is an advantage. Now, if you come to the table with education and you build trust and they realize that you're credible, how many sales are you going to make? At the end of the day, you still have to put the proper marketing and sales, to the prospect. You still have to have, nothing changes. Again, old principle. You have to start a conversation. You have to earn trust. You have to take it one step at a time. But I'm not going to saddle you with conversation you shouldn't have. I'm going to free up all your time so you could focus on that date you're about to have, so you can look your best, sound your best, offer the best, solution to that person. Again, if you tell me who I have to close and I could focus on that, and if I could truly understand them and I can see and truly grasp that I can help them get where they want to go and they can't do that on their own, I'm going to make a hell of a lot of sales.
That's right.
Basic fundamentals. Nothing changes. How I look at data, how I look at an identity graph, how I look at profiling, how I look at all this stuff, is it allows me to compete at a level that nobody else. It's like having a superpower. That's really it. I don't want to brag, but I could look at 200 million US adults that are 18 and above, and I can know the top 300,000 that are already profiled based on your previous 50 million that they're going to buy. And because I did 10,000 and 20,000 with the win-loss, I'm 88 point something % probable that these people are going to do some type of commercial business.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And you get a whole array of that too. Then you'll see the outliers as well, the people who are 94%. Then you'll see the outlier, the people who are only 8%. Even though they fit the persona, they're still not quite there, because when you look at all the nuanced patterns, when you're looking at trillions upon, a set of 1,000 contact records by 25. Yeah, a set of 1,000 contact records by 25 columns in our world, that's about 8.77 times 10 to the 94th trillion patterns recognized.
Just pause there for a second. How many columns was that?
So that's 1,000 rows by 25 columns.
Okay, so 1,000 people with 25, let's call it attributes, right? Behaviors, things about them.
And that does not include their names or their email address, the contact info doesn't count. Married,
not married, kids, VP and higher on your job title, if it's B2B, whatever it is, relevant firmographic, relevant demographic, relevant psychographic. Do those numbers again. Say that again.
So 1,000 by 25 columns, 1,000 rows by 25 columns in a win-loss data set is going to identify approximately 8.77 times 10 to the 94th trillion patterns.
Now,
That is an inconceivable number. Do you know how long it takes a human being to count to a trillion?
how
Approximately
many
18,000 years. So if you say you can sell and target better as a human being, it would
now,
take you 18,000 years to count to I mean, what, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a nanofraction of the same amount of patterns that are recognized.
so how many columns do you actually look at? Because 25 isn't the number, is it? How many do you actually look at?
It looks at all of them.
Right. So if I had 1,000, you'd look at all 1,000.
It would depend. It depends what is built in the model. So it depends on what we tell the system that it can look at. But if it's all normalized, it could look at that 1,000, sure, if we told it to.
Right.
But there's a certain value where when you're looking at it from, well, I mean, this is getting into very deep theoretical and applied mathematics. But when you get to a certain point, it will throw away, even if they're meaningful, it will throw them away, because even if they have meaning, it's going to toss many of the dimensions, because it says, even if we have these extra 50 dimensions,
Not going to
that
change.
doesn't mean anything. These 50
Right.
dimensions, whether it has those 50 or the 20 that already exist, it can do the same level of predictive analysis and the same level of accuracy with those 20, and then toss the 50 because it's irrelevant to have all that.
And that's because you're able to look at the behavior. You're looking to see how that performs over time, right? To know what the
In a virtual environment, we could do that. Yeah. So it's done in a virtual environment in, a couple minutes. You can figure that stuff out. I mean, with a data set of 1,000, it could do all that in what, less than 30 seconds?
See, to me, most of the people that I talk to, I ask them a simple question. If I took the $50 million in sales you did over the last 12 months and I profiled it, the next sale you do will have a 99.99% chance to match the profile. And if I'm wrong, it's like 98% chance of matching the profile. It's a high probability that your next sale is going to look demographically, firmographic, and psychographically like every sale you've ever done.
Right. But then that one extra person you just sold, let's say you sold 1,000 people, that one person that you sold, that just changed the predictive model. It's different now. That's why it should be, an ICP should be refreshed monthly, because the market changes, people change, people get hired, fired, all that stuff. They like different things. They're interested in different things happen. And also the people you're selling to
could emerge, right? A new profile could
you're
emerge.
selling new people, and you're churning some people. So the bad out, the good in. And as you start doing this in this extremely targeted way, you can even do micro segmentation of the people who are high longevity clients and get a persona of who sticks around, get a persona of who's upsold, get a persona of who does more transactions. You could build a persona around which people are a pleasure to work with. It doesn't matter. As long as you have that and you're able to define what's what, then it can be modeled out into a persona. There can be a predictive model built around it.
If I have an identity graph, I could build any model.
Yeah, exactly. That mixed with an identity graph is like, it's like cheating.
Or behavior, exactly.
It's like cheating.
It builds me a qualified sales lead. And if you think about the concept of new technology, new strategies, old principles, a qualified lead who meets the ideal customer profile and has the proper behavior score, proper engagement score. If you give me those leads, I'm going to make so many sales. It's not going to matter.
That's the point too. And our technologies, when you put them together, it's going to qualify and disqualify leads better than any human level SDR would ever be able to. Way beyond their ability. You send that lead that has a high probability from both of our spectrums, behavior, psychographic, all of that, ICP and everything, add that mix together, you can pass that lead directly to an AE. There's no reason to go that low of a level.
Let's talk about this again. Let's go back to basics. What can people do with this? The single greatest asset you have in your company is your existing client base. You have no idea the power of that. Model it immediately.
Well, also don't use the data in your CRM to make that model. A lot of predictive companies out there make the mistake of using the CRM data. The reason I say this, and I hope they change, that's more competition for us, but honestly, it's total garbage. The statistic, 84% of CRM data on average is either incorrect or stale.
Yeah.
Therefore, your predictive model, at best, if it's perfect, can be 16% accuracy, which is total and utter garbage.
Now, how do
So
you
you cannot use it.
How do you fix that? How would you fix
The
that?
one thing that's going to be correct in there is who do you do business with? Who have you failed to do business with? Literally, what is their name? Who are they? That's all you got. That's going to be dead accurate. Also, the revenue, I hope, would be dead accurate. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up in jail. But those are the things that are accurate. So then it's about going out and getting data from all of the resources that are out there to ensure its correctness, that it's up to date, that it's fresh, everything like that. Because data is not hard to come by. It's not expensive. It's easy to acquire. You just need to know where to look. I mean, there's very specific niche data that's hard to find, but when you find it, it's cheap. But the thing is, nobody knows what the hell to do with the data or how to squeeze blood from the stone, except you'll find out that it's not a stone, it's a fucking water balloon.
That's funny. That's a good example. And, you know, when you think about it, most of the people that I talk to, you know, they're my age, they're in their 50s and maybe their early 60s, and they come from a different world, and there's a legacy to the company. And I ask them a couple of questions, and I go, look, I've been on enough sales calls selling the same product that if I ask 2 or 3 questions, I know what my chances are. Have you ever experienced that? And they go, yeah. I go, that's because you've been on the sales call before and you've acquired the questions to qualify. Think of an ICP as a way to qualify 200 million, 208 million US adults 18 and above down to say 300,000. Now, how can we qualify those people even further? Let's look at the behavior. There's billions of URLs that I track people on. What's the likelihood that I can tell you what URL you're going to visit in the next 30 days? 1. And I nailed 20 for 300,000 people. Come on. I'm like, you know, I'm Kreskin here. All right. The likelihood that this is a good lead is statistically off the charts. Now, where they are with all of that engagement, well, she really, really likes you. I mean, you need to sell by educating people about why they should buy from you and prove to them, show them why it's a good buying decision. It's that simple. People are when you think about a person, they're wired to make a smart buying decision.
Well, okay. They're smart. They're wired to make a smart, emotionally driven buying decision.
Want to make a smart. I'm saying they want to make a smart buying decision. Help them get there.
Exactly. So I have a simple framework for this, and this is not my invention. It may sound smart or whatever I'm saying, but this is it. It's this simple. What is it? Why did you build it? How is it relevant to them? And or AKA why the fuck should I care? Right? That's what it is. And then how is it applied? What outcomes will they get? The end. That's the whole thing. What is it? Why did you build it? Why is it relevant to them? How is it applied? And what outcomes will they get? Period.
Listen, I'll go even simpler. You don't have to have anything more than a framework, right? Because if I know who, writing that letter to my great aunt about her apple pie, it's just a matter of me writing that letter multiple times to see which one works.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, what other people are doing too is that they want their great aunt's apple pie recipe, so they get 100,000 letters, and they write the same note on it, and then when they mail it, they put the stamp on it, they put the return address, and for where they're sending it, they're writing "My great aunt," and then they shove it in the mail and hope it gets there.
So I was on the phone recently with a direct mail company. They're pretty large. And they were like, how would you apply this to this? And I go,
oh, how? My God, it would be crazy.
I go, well, let me ask you a question. When somebody uploads a list to do a mailing, what if we could cross-reference it with the ICP and remove every name that you should not mail and replace it with one that you should because you did the profile? What if then I overlaid the behavior and you change the mail piece from either nurture or sales ready offer, right? Educate versus sell, because there are some people who are going to be receptive to the sale, right?
And there's some people that'll be receptive, but that's the difference between interest and intent.
Right.
They're interested.
I know that.
A lot of people are interested. I'm interested in kayaks, but I'm never going to put a rack on my goddamn Type R ever in my life, so I will never buy one. Therefore, I will never buy one, though I look at them all the time because I'm interested and I do kayaking, but I rent them. And there's no renting kayak thing anywhere on the internet. That's not a thing. You have to go to a lake and then you get one. That's it. That's how it works. They're not on the internet or anything like that. Maybe slightly, but there's no advertisement. But let me tell you what, they've probably, these outdoor companies have probably wasted somewhere along the lines, I would say maybe around $20,000 to $25,000 of advertising on me over the entire course of everything. And I will literally never buy one, ever.
You don't meet the profile.
No. Because guess what the factor is that is the delimiting factor. The car that I own is the reason why I won't buy one. Why would they ever think that? Okay, who buys kayaks? Oh no, they need to have a specific type of car. No one would ever make that connection, but that is literally the reason why I won't buy one.
Well, when you think about the rows, all that empirical data, you don't need to really think about what the column header is that produces the result.
It doesn't matter. It's about the shape of the data.
That's it. The result. At the end of the day, we're going to take the result and we're going to run ads to it. The one thing that we're really good at is converting off of this targeting. And when I tell people, like, they go, oh, that's your secret sauce. And I go, look, we still do all of the old time-tested, proven things that you do to convert somebody. There's no secret to how you treat human beings. Treat somebody bad, you might make some sales, but you're hoping that there are pockets of ignorance for you to make.
So that's a very special piece of the population. Right. There's about 2% of us who are masochists.
Right. And you'll buy anything just to take the punishment.
Because it hurts. You want it to hurt.
Right. Everybody else has to actually want what you're selling. You know what I mean? They have to have a high interest level. And, you know, the part of it is exclusivity. You know, if you have something everybody wants, but they can get it from 5,000 other people. So I tell people, like, look, when you study for your MBA, there are 5 forces that you compete against for profits. Rival companies who do what you do, alternatives, right, where they offer something similar but not exactly, right? Powerful buyers, powerful suppliers like Google and Facebook, and then threats of entry. Okay, sometimes there are 6, but let's just stick with those 5. I use data. You could pick any one of these. Let's talk powerful buyer. How do I handle powerful buyers? Well, if I can get what you said earlier, frame control, get early, build a relationship, establish a rapport, gain trust, et cetera, build engagement, and then, you know, you eventually ask them to do something, and eventually you ask them to form, fill, or buy, right?
Right, and with a powerful buyer like that, if they're in their buying cycle, they're ready to buy now. If you approach them as a new potential supplier, the chances of you closing them are almost zero. You need to continue that relationship. They're not going to buy from you, but you continue that relationship. You build it. You build the trust. So the next time they buy it, then they may buy it from you.
Right. And so if you think about a powerful supplier, Google and Facebook, how do you win in Google and Facebook? You need to own and control the targeting. You need to be able to supply your own targeting. And you need to be able to differentiate between somebody who's active and somebody who's passive so you can change the messaging, right? You have to meet people where they are and help them go where they want to go. You can't take them to where they want to go. You have to know where they want to go. You know, you can't take them where you want to go.
That's because it's the buyer's journey, which people don't get. It's not the seller's journey. You don't tell them what to buy, how to buy it. It's you're going to follow their path. And the more you can align with the way that they're thinking, feeling, and doing, the better the outcome you're going to get. You let them buy as they want to. If I was selling someone and I know that they're damn well qualified and all they want to do is talk about the damn cat for 45 minutes, we could talk about the damn cat for 45 minutes. This is a true story. Talked about a cat for 45 minutes. Then they said, all right, how much is it?
That's it.
What? That's insanity. But guess what? They bought.
Yeah, that's
and guess what? They were qualified. I made sure they were qualified.
Outlier. But here's the thing. If you've ever done sales, the questions are how you qualify people, right? We're using the ICP and the behavior to qualify without asking the questions, right? So when we do put the question to them about learning about their problem, learning about the solutions that could solve their problem, offering a company for the solution that they chose, typically those are the 3 steps.
Yeah, and you almost already know the answers to the questions you're going to ask them.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a matter of me just doing my job in terms of educating you so you can make a smart buying decision.
I love it. So we are out of time here. I don't mean to cut you short, Tommy.
Oh, go ahead, man. Listen, the one thing I want to say to anyone who's listened to this, targeting is not the secret sauce when done with everything else, but you have to have the right targeting. Garbage in, garbage out.
The way I talk about it, the target is the root. Selling is a tree. The target is the root. If the root dies, the tree's dead. If it's diseased, the whole tree's diseased.
Right.
And if the roots aren't there, if they're not getting nurtured, and it's not correctly, grounded, the tree is going to fall, die, or whatever else.
All I need to know as a marketer, who to target, when to target them, and how to close them. I'll figure out the rest.
Then it's all testing from that point on.
That's it. That's it. To me, that's it.
I love it. I love it. So Tommy,
economics.
What's the best way for the listeners of this podcast to be able to reach out to you?
Tommy at intent.io. 3 I's. IIINTENT.io.
That's IIINT.
EN, right? Intent with 3 I's. Intent with
there
3
we go. There we go.
And
Intent with 3 I's. That's perfect. And so anybody who wants to reach out that way. He's also on LinkedIn, so you can find him. That's not a problem.
Tommy Liantonio. Liantonio. Listen,
perfect.
I apologize for the rants and all the deep, White Rabbit. I love it.
That's why everybody's here, man. That's why everybody's here is the rants. That's why people listen to this podcast. It's
if
awesome.
Nothing else, I want everybody to know that they need to own and control their own first-party data. They need to really start to model their existing sales. There's a lot of money in there, a lot. It's the basic principle of our entire business, and we're crushing it with it.
That's what it is. It's true. It's true. There's a lot of corrective processes that come with it, but it's true. Yeah. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And everybody here, again, I'm Rob Turley, co-founder, co-CEO at White Rabbit Intel. And of course, my company is the sponsor of it, White Rabbit Intel. Check us out. Sales enablement, artificial intelligence, and sales intelligence so that you can know more, win more, and close often by understanding who you target and who you need to get in touch with to build a relationship with. Human to human connection predicted, right? Awesome. And yeah, thank you so much. This is Down the Rabbit Hole Podcast, hashtag DTRH Podcast. Use it if you tag us. And feel free to tag me. Thank you so much. Have a great night. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Down the Rabbit Hole Podcast for new episodes weekly on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, and YouTube. If you'd like to apply to be featured on the podcast or recommend a featured guest, please feel free to email us at theteam@whiterabbitintel.com.